So as usual, we're going to start with a few announcements. So event announcements this week, we are going to have our very own CPP alumni and past REA VP Allegra Roza talk to us about personal branding. Next week, it is still TBD. We're in the works with getting someone for that week. And then April 21st, we're going to have another CPP alumni, Andres Meave, who is our past president of REA, who's a financial analyst at, I might say this wrong, Dedu Properties. Very exciting stuff. Week 14 is TBD as well. And then May 3rd, week 15, which is going to be one of our last one of the last two meetings, we're going to do a collaboration with ASI Beat on how to buy a home. It's their life after graduation collaboration series. And so we're going to be talking to a real estate agent on that. Please remember that is a Tuesday. So most likely you might have a Thursday event that day too, but we're still in the works. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that'll probably be a different Zoom link. We'll get you more information on that when it comes. And I'll pass it on to Heidi for social media.
Yeah, so if you haven't already, you can scan the QR code to follow all of our social media platforms. We post weekly on our Instagram to give you updates and summaries of our meetings if you missed any of them. We also post all of our meetings on our YouTube channel. So you can find all of that on our link tree. And I'll pass it on to Martin.
Hey there. So this is our REA merch and our paid membership. It's $20 for a semester or $30 for a year. It includes a welcome packet that has a mask, a shirt, stickers, and a goodie bag. If you'd like to join, please Venmo at Talia with your full name, email address, whether you want a semester or year membership. And you can also email her at thomas@cpp.edu for alternative payment methods. And I'll pass it on.
So now we have something called the Urban Plan for Universities. This is a ULI opportunity. And essentially what this does is that it helps to allow, land use professionals like developers, planners, architects, investors, and even students, get into what is urban planning. And so this is an incredible opportunity for you guys to learn more. I could not find if this was a paid thing, but Marvin's going to drop some more information, a site, like a link to the site, as well as an email. So when you email that, put the header that we've posted in there. That's going to allow you to volunteer if it's still available. And so it'll give you options. You can ask more questions in that, but the volunteering is just as helpful. This is a 12 to 15-hour unit, and you address almost everything that has to do with urban planning, financial markets, social, political, and design issues. How do you develop a pro forma? And so this is a great step in the right direction for those who want to go more into commercial real estate, but don't know where to start, or who want to go into urban planning and don't know where to start. So highly recommend this, and definitely don't hesitate to email them and ask for more questions. And now I'll pass it on to Kyra.
Our other partnership is with Crew Inland Empire, and they're looking to professionally advance women in commercial real estate. They are still offering a scholarship for students, and we highly recommend for everyone to apply in this meeting. And as you see on the right-hand side, 2 of our REA members have won the scholarship and are taking advantage of the opportunities.
Yeah, I really want to add that, this is a great opportunity. They're awarding $5,000 for 30 female identifying students. And even with that, they're also giving scholarship. They're also giving internship opportunities, shadowing opportunities. This is like a great way to get into the CRE community. And, Caitlin and I can both attest, and, Allegra also can attest, she was a past Crew scholarship winner, that these women and, the people who are in this community are so, so kind to us. Like, you approach them and they always have happy faces. They're always wanting to help in any way they can. So this is due April 15th. You guys still have time. I believe that they need a letter of recommendation. So please get on that soon, but would really love to see some CPP students win this for the next semester in a row. So please apply if you guys can. And then I'll pass it on to Heidi. Marvin.
Yeah, so we've also got an amazing scholarship for everybody. It is called the Sior Scholarship. Sior stands for the Society of Industrial and Office Realtors, and they're a leading trade association of commercial real estate professionals. Some requirements are that you must be a full-time business or finance major. You need to provide a copy of your resume and transcript. You need 2 references, which are just, letters of recommendation, and you need to fill out the Google form by May 13th. If you do end up getting elected, keep in mind that you must attend the Sior in-person meeting May 26th.
Yeah, and another thing is Allegra actually works for the guy who's behind this, Gary Martinez. So she will be discussing more about it, and you guys can ask her more questions towards the end of the meeting. So super excited. Before we begin, we do want to talk about REA Netiquette. So, like we mentioned every meeting, we would not be here without our members. We would not be here without you guys. Like, I don't know who we would present to if we didn't have you guys, right? And so to be respectful of not only our guest speakers' time, but also our time, let's keep questions till the end and comments till the end. If you want to ask a question, please utilize the chat function. This is just going to help make sure that the guest speaker can go through their whole entire presentation. And also you guys can get the most out of every meeting that we have. During the Q&A section, we would really appreciate if everyone could use the raise hand function. This is just going to allow us to make sure that everyone gets their turn and, can have their question asked and, no one's left behind. And, Zoom fatigue is real. We've probably felt it more than once during these past few years with COVID. So if you don't want to turn on your camera, you don't want to have, you don't want to say anything, you can use the chat function. There's no pressure. And someone from our e-board will call on you and say, hey, so-and-so had a question, and we'll make sure that your question is heard then too. So without further ado, I'm going to be presenting Allegra Roza, who is a commercial real estate brokerage administrator at Ashwill Associates. She's a past VP of REA. She's a past CPP. She's a CP alumni. And, I've had the pleasure of working with her for so many semesters, and she's amazing. And I'm super excited to pass it on to her. So Allegra, I will let you share your screen now. And start.
Thank you. Thank you for that sweet introduction. So yeah, I'm going to share my screen. I just put together a few slides, nothing too crazy. I just, I like visual work. So I'll go ahead and share. Just want to make sure everyone.
Yeah, we can see it.
And you can see my screen and nothing else, right?
Just the Google Docs header at the top, but we can see like networking your ways to success.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. So hello, everyone. Again, I want to make this as interactive and personal as possible. Especially, I'm glad actually we have a small group, and yeah, I would appreciate everyone to turn on the cameras too. I love seeing faces, and I think that what we're talking about right now is kind of related to like first impressions. So just consider that for future meetings. Just always like make that impression with whatever event you attend. So some of you may know me and some of you don't. So I was like I said, I was a previous REA Vice President and SMIC President, and that was the best experience. I took a lot out of these clubs, and it shaped me who I am today. I gained a lot of like leadership skills, knowledge in the industry, all because, I joined, I was part of it. And it made me stand out as an individual when I was out there talking, networking with professionals. So like previously stated, I graduated this December as an FRL major, and I emphasized in the law side. So even though I dabbled in the finance and the real estate, I wanted to do something different, and I did the law side with a minor in marketing. So that was I think that really built my foundation, because I got to experience contracts, and marketing too was just great classes. I actually took a personal branding class at Cal Poly. That's the first time I learned about it, and I'd love to share with you guys what I've learned. But previously, I just want to say like a little bit about my background, so and if you have any questions, like if you I have previous experience in commercial lending, and if anyone has questions on that, wants to get into lending, like I have great connections, so reach out to me. But I'm on the path to become a commercial real estate broker. Right now, I'm just I'm working my way up there. I'm just like I'm training, I'm learning, but that's what I'm aspiring to be. Why brokerage? Commercial real estate broker is someone who works with a client to buy, lease, sell, or rent non-residential property. So we're talking about office, industrial, retail, you name it. Those big buildings, I want to be the one doing the transaction on those. So I find it fascinating, the process of being able to, just transaction these huge facilities and being able to lay out the planning of a city it's great. It's awesome. And there's like huge reward to it too. That's what I find very, very excited and hungry about. But the great experience, I've just joined Ashwill. I got to meet amazing developers. If you know KB Homes, they're huge in the residential side. They're building a lot of units. California, if anyone knows about REA targets, does anyone know what REA targets are? So REA targets is a California, basically California has said each county has to make certain units for housing. So, and before they've been having this this mandate, but now they're enforcing it because there's a housing crisis. So counties, cities, they don't want to deal with these huge fines. They want to be out there building houses, building units, building apartments. So developers are coming in. You're starting to see a lot of more development, which is hard because there's no land in California. So I don't know how that's playing out, but that's one thing. REA targets. It's interesting. So site tours. I've been going to a lot of these industrial properties, seeing these buildings. It's fascinating what it goes into them. The other day I went to a NAIOP conference and I got to do a development tour, and in the industrial property I saw a fully automated robotic implementation into this industrial property. It was fascinating, like how the future of commercial real estate is like this technology that's being implemented in industrial. So that's really that goes back to the supply chain, how do they make the process faster? And been working with companies that you may recognize. The broker I'm working with has something with Cal State Fullerton. We've worked with Edison, Suzuki, St. Jude's Medical Center, like all these great big companies that you would recognize, and being able to plan where they next, they do their work. That's awesome. That's an honor. So another thing that I've been experiencing is cold calling, and it's very new to me, but it's been exciting to do. I'm very comfortable with it, but that came from experience from networking. But I wanted to do something that I just didn't want to be stuck doing an analyst role. That's just personally me. I wanted to do something where I could use it all, my skills, my finance, my marketing, the understanding of contracts. Brokerage fit that description very well, because in brokerage, you do it all. And, so what got me to this position, what I wanted to do this is, I don't have any real estate background in my family, so I had to work for all these connections. And it was all through the personal relationships I've made is why I want to do it. So, that's what we have today. That's what I'm presenting to you. Networking your way to success, selling yourself to industry professionals as a student. And I want to emphasize that word network, because we'll be talking about it during the presentation. But let's move on. Let's go to our. There we go. So today's agenda, like I said, I'll be going through personal branding, building professional relationship building, what organizations to join, to build these, to find these industry professionals, and, what opportunities are there for students. So first, like I said, I want to make this interactive. So what is personal branding? Like, does anyone just have an idea of like what they think personal branding is? Because I sure as hell didn't know at first. I was like, okay, wait, like it's so obvious, but like really, what is it? What do you think it is? Anyone?
Wait, can I talk?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. So personal branding is technically like who you are, like as a like be authentic, like who you are as a person, like your personality and your characters, technically.
Yeah, great description, Lawrence. Yeah, anyone want to take a shot, want to say it on the chat, feel free. But to go into depth what it is, it's here we go. It's the perception that others make of you. And why I say this is we, like, as a brand, let's break apart what branding is. What is it? So reputation in a brand. So think about just a regular brand, like for example, a Louis Vuitton, right? We associate that to luxury, right? So that's what we perceive when we leave that store. Like, wow, that experience, like, oh, like that was luxury, right? Like everything was so expensive. Like we left that store leaving like thinking that way. So it's the same thing with us. And like if you really think about it, when you're speaking to someone and you leave that room, you're already thinking like, wow, they're very smart. Wow, they're very knowledgeable. Or I didn't really get a good feeling about this person. There's something about them, but you make that up with in it's like it's a perception, right? I'm sorry, excuse me, guys. I don't know what's wrong with my screen. Let me reshare. Sonika, can you see my screen?
I was able to see your screen. It was still on the personal branding page.
Okay.
Yeah, I can still see it.
Okay. Is it good now? Just my
Yeah.
screen? Okay, sorry guys. So I'm trying to click the automations that I had. So yeah, personal brand is a reflection of the individual the individual skills, abilities, and lifestyle. So why I say this? So one thing that with my personal brand, what the impressions I made with my skill is my marketing designs. I've worked with organizations and I've done flyers, brochures, and I've made that impression that I can make a nice looking, a nice looking design. And every time I get a call like, hey, can you do this for me? Like, wow, I made that impression through my skills. Like she can make a design. So think that when you're take some time to think like, what skills do I have to impress people, to have them think like I can do that job through like those tactical skills that you have. And Jeff Bezos has a quote. Your brand is what people say about you after you leave the room, and that's really how I explained it to you guys, the perception that people make of you. So next slide. Sorry, let me get my screen to share again. Okay. So a time for a self-reflection, what are people's perception of you? How does that differ from how you see yourself? So, I'll say, I'll talk about this, what I think people perceive me as, and what I've the feedback that I got. You know, I came into the office and they're like, oh, Allegra, you're so positive, you're so optimistic, like you're always smiling, you know, you always give that impression, optimism, being happy, and like, oh, that's great. I love to come off that way because I am like a very high energetic individual. But I always found myself to come off as a very professional individual. I'm always like, I dress nice, I dress to the part. I'm very polite. I'm always in a professional, like my mind is professionalism. So, I thought about that, like, well, maybe I'm doing something right. People are seeing me as a, energetic individual, but I want to come off professional. How do I perceive myself that way? Is there just something I should be doing different? So, think to yourself, you guys, like, what do you think people think of you? And you could share, like, Sonica, I'm curious, like, how do you think people think of you?
Well, I know that like at first people probably think that I'm unapproachable because of just how my face is sometimes, like it's a resting face. I don't want to go into the whole acronym, but once they get to know me a little bit more, they realize that I'm really talkative, I love to help out. And like, yeah, I guess that is similar from what I see myself as, but of course I see myself as like always needing to do more. And you probably know that, always trying to strive for that next part. So that, I guess that's like perception of me and, how I see myself.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And, with everyone else, think about that. What do people think? Like, dang, what do people think about me? Like, Sonica, I definitely, when I first met you, very, serious girl, like, face like, I'm gonna roll here. But she was a ball of sunshine when I first talked to her. So sweet, so outgoing. And it's just, yeah, like it's really, getting to know someone. But, it's that impression when you make with someone. I see Sonica as a very, energetic individual as well. But, think that about yourself, because when you're out there and you're networking, that's going to be important, guys. That's definitely going to be very important. And we'll go into more into why. So, next slide, I want to, this was crazy to me because I was thinking like, it's true. We can attest to this. So within the first 7 seconds of meeting someone, you have a solid impression of who they are. And it takes 1/10 of a second just to start determining traits like trustworthiness. Oh, absolutely. You judge with your eyes. Immediately people have an impression of just looking at you. Like we live it every day, For example, someone looked at me and they're like, oh, like, did you ever play sports? And I'm like, yeah, like, how do you notice? Like they got that impression of me, like, oh, like your shoulders are built out, like as a swimmer. I'm like, oh, that's a trait. You see, interesting. Like you notice that from my features, right? From how I look. So people just have an impression of you, just like that. How you talk, eye contact, everything. And that's important when you're out there networking, like going back to how people want to think of you. Those little details, So, going into the next slide, strategies to take to build your personal branding. And, I considered it, this is from the mentors that I had, from the classes I learned, this is some things that I noticed. And there's many more that you can add to, but the first one is your introduction. How do you come off as in your elevator pitch? It's awkward. I remember it was awkward, like trying to like practice my elevator pitch, but that's really how I built my confidence. Should be like a 30-second introduction, like telling your story, like, being out there, showing off your skills, just in those 30 seconds, and just, making that impact. So you want to make that impact. You want to make yourself different than your competition. The second one is, gestures, facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, appearance, dress code is so important. Like I said, guys, like what they mean it when they say dress to impress, because that's one way of coming off professional, right? It's something that but it's nice to hear it again. Like the just like repetitive, like keep that in mind. Like, like I have to look good, and I have to keep eye contact, your tone of voice, it's like, especially when I'm cold, when I'm calling these brokers, I'm like, there's such a difference. Hey, my name's Allegra. I was wondering if listing 1234 Samson Lane's available. It's boring, it's boring. Like just from my voice, I pick up that phone. I'm like, hey, how's it going? It's Allegra Roza from Ashwill Associates. That it makes a difference. They're like, like they sound energetic. They sound happy. So keep that in mind. You want to you want to sell yourself just by that. Even your tone of voice, just sounding like you're optimist, you're positive. And then facial expressions, like, like I'm out there and I'm smiling and people love it. Like be that person that like you like throw a smile and you just having that smile back. Oh, it feels great. It feels great. But that makes yourself less intimidating. It makes you more approachable. So when you're out there in these networking events, like, like they seem great. Like, let me go talk to them. Like when I'm out there networking, like this is like, I'm smiling. Like Sanika, you can attest to this. We went to this networking event before and oh my God, switch the gears. Like I was on like go mode, smiley, positive, because I want to be out there. I want to attract positive energy, right?
No, it was really funny. We were like in the corner talking, like we haven't seen each other in a few months. And then all of a sudden, like someone that we're going to start working with comes in and she just flips a switch. And I was like, we weren't talking like this before. Like, where'd she come from? So it was like such a surprise. But yeah, it's crazy how she can flip that, and you guys can too.
Exactly. But you kind of have to be that way if you want to sell yourself. The third step is develop a strong online presence. LinkedIn's important. They look at your LinkedIn. They mean it. They really do. They analyze what you're posting, what you're liking, all these little details. Take that in mind and start building it now. Like what you're attending, any scholarships you want, get out there, post it, develop that. If you're considering your professional career. I made a personal website, and I actually learned that in my personal branding class, build that image for yourself. And I've gotten a lot of compliments because I've posted on my resume and they're like, oh, I saw your personal website. That's really cool. Like, you even have a little logo of yourself. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, wow, I made that impression. And I just from, this website I made, just, it's basically a resume of, I'm trying to start posting blogs about like just industrial real estate and just what my thoughts are. But yeah, it's cool. It makes you stand out, right? Another thing is start building your knowledge in the industry. Even though there's something that you guys can't change and something that you have to offer is, because, as a student, I was like, how do I bring value? How do these people look at me like I'm value? I'm just a student, But then I started to realize I have a golden ticket. You guys have a golden ticket. Everyone here, golden tickets. You guys have the drive. You guys have the motivation, the hungriness, the willingness to jump in, the motivation. And a lot of these guys out in real estate, like real talk, like they're older individuals, like they've done it, and they don't have that motivation that someone like us has right now, but they want that. They want that in their team. They want someone that's motivated. They don't want someone that they're not looking for knowledge, like, oh, you don't have to know everything. You can teach that, but you can't teach someone character, the willingness to do it, to jump in and be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I had to learn that really quick, just like something that I know I was uncomfortable calling these, like, how do I even approach this? But I did it before presenting at clubs, doing workshops, making myself, because before I hated presenting, but here I'm out here being comfortable with uncomfortable, and I'm getting better. And it's something that's going to also it's also going to, you're going to have to do at work in your career. Okay, so but it's great. It's good to start building your knowledge in the industry. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I like to read updates online about the market. LinkedIn, always like to like posts that I find interesting, something about industrial, the automation and behind that, all the money they're pouring into like data centers. That was interesting. I just read about that. And attending conferences is awesome, because they gave a keynote speaker on an economist, just speaking about that, like his outlook, and it was just really interesting, like looking at all that data. And like when I'm networking, I can bring that up, like, hey, did you hear what Christopher Thompson said about this, that? Like, that was really interesting. That, like we're starting to see a shift. But it's just, because I remember I took note, I built that knowledge. So remember that, guys, like, start now, and then step 5, emotional intelligence and confidence. I think that's key. So emotional intelligence, it's a very broad, statement to say right now. I can get very in depth about emotional intelligence. That can be its own workshop, but just being emotionally mature. At the end of the day, when you're networking, just remember, you don't want to be the one that's interesting. You want to be the one interested. People love talking about them. Professionals love talking about themselves. Be the one that's listening. It's hard listening. When you realize that it like when you're in class, like real talk, like it's hard listening to the lecture. I always had a hard time, like, oh my God, I'm burnt out, and it's a skill to have. You learn to listen, even to like everyone. Like, do you really pick up everything you've listened to? Like, force yourself, take note. What did they say? Like, because listening is so important. Be the one that's interested, not the interesting one. You'll understand, like, understand why. Okay, so next thing. So my favorite professional relationship building. So forget about networking. I know this workshop was named networking, but forget that term. I like the word connecting and professional building, like a professional relationship building. I'm building a rapport with you. I don't, you could have all the connections on LinkedIn, you can but can you go back into a test like that was a strong connection? You can go back and have coffee with that person. Like, oh, you can't. Like, you want to build a strong relationship, not just send a DM on LinkedIn. Like, think about networking per se. Like, think about this as like dating. Like, would you answer to a Instagram DM like, hey, you're cute, or would you like someone to hey, let's catch coffee, let's build, let me get to know you, not just a message. Like, it's the same thing with networking. Like, oh, like I get messages all the time, like, oh, thanks for your connection, like no, like, let's build a relationship. And that's how I got far, like reaching out, emailing, calling. These people love, you pick up the phone, call. That's how you make yourself stand out. Pick up the phone and call, send that email, I'd love to get in a meeting with you, informational interview. Let's get on a Zoom call. Let's go have coffee, have lunch. I just want to get to know you. I just get to know what you do. Any advice you would have for a student. I really admire what you do. And people love that. They want to help you guys. I really, that's what I see. Like, they really want to help students. And I build strong relationships through that. I went, for an example, when I was last semester, I reached out to the SIOR, the Sior, or the coordinator, and I was like, hey, like, I'm a student, I'd love to go to this event. And she was like, yeah, sure, why not? We've never had a student reach out. So got to attend that meeting for free, which is awesome because that was like a $100 ticket. And I was, building relationships with individuals there. And Gary, the guy I'm working for, I met him there. And, I told him, I was like, oh, Gary, like, you're an SIOR, you're a CCIM. I want to have an informational interview with you. Like, let me get to know you. And I built that relationship with him. So when I graduated, I called him up. I was like, hey, I'd love to catch up. I'm a recent, like, I graduated. And he was like, Allegra, like, great, like, come to the office, join the team. Like, I know you built that connection with me. And that's with everyone. Like, I've built like with crew ladies, with NAOP, like, I've maintained those, but it's hard, like, maintaining everything. Like, don't get too, like, caught up, because you can, like, quickly go from like 5 to like 15, and it's hard to maintain that. So just find a good group that you can just really connect with. And remember, it's not who you know. I always hear that quote, have you ever heard of that? It's who you know. Would you say you heard that? Right? It really, I mean, it is, but it's not who you know, it's who knows you. It's what people's impressions were of you. So just keep that in mind, guys, when you're out there. Like, how do I make this person know me? It's not who I know, what they know about me. Great. So NAOP, I'm part of the education committee. I'm just helping out with getting students more involved. So I got to attend the big icon industrial event. Even Andres, who's going to be the next guest speaker from Dido, he's in development. He got to attend with me this conference, and it was a blast. I got to just meet so many people, attend, like, they had like little parties, like company parties. So I got to like see Cushman's, Newmark's, all these companies and all these people that work for him, and just learn about the industry. And it's great, like the conferences, but the little events are great too, because you learn something new, right? You can, it's something that it's very interesting that they'll be having is perspective and insights on the supply chain and rental industry. So if you're interested in industrial real estate, it's definitely something you would want to go. And if it's for free, like, why not? Absolutely. So if you're interested in joining NAOP as a member, email events@naopie.org or message me. I can coordinate, because I'm very close to the executive director of NAOP. I can answer any of your questions and direct you to her. And NAOP offers scholarships. NAOP, just the chance to meet these great industry professionals. The other day I met the managing director of like the CBRE office in Newport, and I built that connection just from like these NAOP events. Like, I went out there, I went up to him, I'm like, hey, like, my name is Allegra Roza. I told him about what I do and why I'm interested in real estate. And, I made that impression on him, and I had in a meeting with him, and so all because of this organization. That's where I got my connection. So it's something to consider if you're looking to get into commercial. So, next slide. is other organizations that I'm familiar with. So one of them is a commercial investment member, is a, this is certified commercial investment member. So it's actually, you have to get certificated to be a CCIM. It's super expensive. I know it's like 10,000 altogether to be in that, to have that recognition. But it's an organization as well, and they host like events, and it's really recognized as being the investment sides of real estate. So the other one is CREW, which CREW is huge and acute, being part of Cal Poly, and as a lady, they really do provide support for just girls that want to get into commercial real estate. That's really how I started, and they built my confidence, because once you see, like, as a girl, like, it's very male dominated. It is. I every conference I've gone to, I'm surrounded by men. And I thought to myself, like, wow, this is intimidating. I wonder what they think about me. Like, and I started to realize, like, being part of CREW and what I've learned, like, that's my competitive edge. That's my advantage. That is not my weakness. Being a woman is not my weakness. It's gonna be my advantage. It's gonna make me unique, right? So that's how I see it. And the support that I got from that was from CREW. So if you can apply for that scholarship, apply 100%. And if you think you're not qualified, just still go for it. I applied 2019. I never got it. That never brought me down. I still said, you know what? No, I'm not going to take, next year I'm going to apply and I'm going to win it. And I did. And I kept pushing. So don't give up. Like I said, like, 1 year you may not win it, but the next year you will. But you made that impression that you applied already. They recognize your name. Hey, like, this girl applied last year. She applied like now, like, wow, she's really interested in this organization. Like, that's the impression I made. Urban Land Institute. I saw that you guys, Sonica posted about that. Awesome. Urban Land Institute is great. They're awesome. That's how I got my first internship. I actually won the WLI scholarship 2 days ago. So I'm so like on that, very happy. That means I get to attend their conference in San Diego. So I will be attending the ULI spring conference this April 21st, I believe. I have to check the dates, but yeah, ULI, I'm in their mentorship program. I'm trying to get in their young leaders committee, just trying to be involved as much as possible. And yeah, they're great if you want to, if you want to connect with professionals and looking for internships. That's really one route to go to. And the ICSC is the retail. It's more on the retail. So if you're interested in like retail marketplaces, it's a great organization. They host a lot of events. They have this one in Vegas, and it's going to be in May. If you're interested in joining any of these organizations, please reach out to me. I did put my email out there. So, and I also want to note that the SIOR scholarship that you guys heard about from Sonica, I helped Gary put that together. So I started putting the application. So if you have any questions on that, please let me know. I really want, CBP to have an SIOR, to be one of the ones that wins the SIOR scholarship. So just, I'm hoping, I'm counting on you guys to just do it, just take these opportunities, because there's so many out there. And the SIOR one is great, and the CREW one is also. So if you're looking into commercial real estate, go for it. So, that's really it on my presentation. I hope you guys got something out of it. Thank you for listening to me today. This was great. I'm happy to share my thoughts, you know, the process of where I am now, and just I'm always a resource, you know, to you guys. Like, please reach out with anything. I'd love to meet, you know, have a one-on-one meeting with any of you guys. Just, you know, just talk more into depth and how I can help. But yeah, does anyone have any questions for me? You know, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, please feel free to unmute yourself, you know, raise your hand and ask questions. Allegra is more than happy to answer anything you guys have for her.
Yeah, please don't be dry. David, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, my question is, what went into your thought process for choosing the brokerage that you're at?
The thought process of choosing
Yeah, like what
Ashwill.
yes.
So
When did you choose them?
yeah, so you know, like I said, I've met Gary from SIOR, and you know, one of the things that stood out to me is being a part of SIOR is, I don't know if you've heard of this. It's like, it's a brokerage, it's an industrial office organization, but it's like super, like, it's kind of top secret in a way. And it's very hard to get into. So you have to be making $500K a year for 3 years in sales to get recognized as an SIOR. So very prestige organization of brokers. So I was like, wow, like I really want to work with someone that is an SIOR, because you're like one of the best. You are out there making deals happen. So I knew Gary. I built a relationship with him, and he's an industrial office specialist. He focuses on you know, he does a lot of others. You know, it depends on his clients what they want, but it's his focus in industrial office, and that's really what interests me as well. And you know, him being a part of Ashwill and part of his team, I was like, you know, like, he's been my mentor. He's been building me up for that role, and I'm so grateful for it. And that's really why I chose this team and Gary himself, is because of just his credibility. So yeah, any other questions? Yes. Khalil. I hope I'm saying.
Yeah, it's Khalil. Thank you. Yeah,
Khalil.
you got it.
Oh.
I was just gonna ask. So I've been, as a business major, I've been introduced to the concept of personal branding and networking for like quite a while now. But I want to know if you had any advice for people like me who tend to be a little more introverted and tend to find it kind of exhausting to try to talk to so many people, and maybe some tips of advice you can give for people who have a harder time conversating.
Khalil, I understand you 100%. When I first started 2019 at Cal Poly, I hated it. I would walk by clubs. I'm like, you know, this is like, you know, it's repetitive. It's just, I don't want to be involved. It's exhausting, honestly. It does take your energy. But, you know, one thing that I had to realize is I had to build my confidence, and I would practice to myself, like in the mirror, like just talking, you know, and, you know, just talking, you know, myself in the mirror, like my elevator pitch. And then big networking events intimidated me, right? Like, Khalil, would you say like a networking events, like it's overwhelming, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I almost never know what to do in those
Yeah.
situations. I tend to find one or two people and just kind of stick to them for the
Right.
majority of it.
I know, and I understand you, because it was like that with me as well. One thing that helped was having one-on-ones are way better with people because you get very personal. So, if you're interested in like reaching, a guest speaker that's on here, like if you reach out, hey, like Sandra, like I'd love to have like a one-on-one meeting with you. Like you had a great presentation. And then you build that. It's a one-on-one, it's easier, right? You have a set of questions. Make sure to note some questions out, like have in mind what questions you want. And that one-on-one, you feel more comfortable. And once you start having more one-on-ones with people, you'll feel more confident getting out there and networking at networking events, because you talk to a lot of individuals. And one other thing, because there's a lot to this, because I built up my confidence at going to networking events through these small interactions. I got to recognize people at these events, like, hey, like I've spoken to you before, and they introduced me to more people and more people, and that's how I expanded at networking events to talk to more individuals. It's one other thing, Khalil, like to understand to everyone, that you don't have to talk a lot. Like it's like how I said, it's be the one interested instead of being interesting. Like you'll have you being emotionally intelligent, you'll know the balance between speaking, like when to speak to about yourself, and then when you can hand someone the mic and just tell me about yourself, though. I'm interested in. So that's why it's good to have those set of questions, so to keep that conversation going. But people, let's talk about themselves, make it all about them, and you'll make that impression, like, wow, they'll leave like, wow, they really were interested in where I'm, who I am, like, and they're a student, like I want to help them out, So I hope that answered your question, Khalil. That's just my take on how to approach these networking events. Start small.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Lawrence, go ahead.
Yeah, Allegra. So actually, we talk about networking. To be honest, I've been doing it for like a whole year now. Every single day. I'm not gonna lie with you. On Zoom or stuff like that. But the point is, let's talk a little bit about selling yourself. Trying to be unique, trying to differentiate yourself from, because when you go out there, especially in commercial real estate, you're competing with people who are like from USC or like UC Berkeley and stuff like that. And that's literally how, like networking is so important. How can you sell yourself?
Yeah. Oh my God, absolutely. When I worked at Farmers and Merchants, Newport, they would note to me, like, these were all people that graduated from like Stanford, UCLA, USC. Like I was there, I was like, yeah, I went to Cal Poly and I'm proud of it. Let me tell you, when I say I graduated from Cal Poly, I say that with such pride. Like I love to learn by doing. I talk so highly, like all my classes, my professionals, everything that I've learned, I was doing it through the Smith program, through the real estate events. I was out there going to development tours, Orlando's class in pro formas. Like I sell that. I went to Cal Poly and that motto was to learn by doing, and I did it. And that's how I learned. That's how I stood myself out. So when I was at F&M and I went out there, like how I sold myself, I talked about that. Everything that I learned from at school, I try to apply it. And I stood out because I understood a lot. Like all those models of the global cash flows, so rent roll analysis, like I dabbled onto a little bit of that through the classes that I took, so that one thing that I, how to sell myself, I come off very optimistic, professional. That was my selling point. Like, hey, I like Allegra. She's so positive. She's so optimistic. Like, so yeah, it's one unique trait about me. And like, when you start thinking like what ways you want to sell yourself, like keep that in mind. Hopefully, Lawrence, that was how I answered your question.
No, that does answer my question. And I think, while I was networking with a lot of commercial real estate professionals, I realized that be able there's a traits or like there's a skill set that I think that so many, it's very interesting to people is if you can tell a story, I think
Mhm.
that would be like amazing, be unique, and it's okay. It's like if you have a story behind, your life or something like that, you don't be afraid to tell it out because it makes you unique. So that's why, I thought to add on to that.
Oh, yeah, Lawrence, great thoughts, seriously. Another question that I got, how do you go about maintaining your professional relationships on a consistent basis? Tam, that's a good question. You're right. It's exhausting kind of maintaining these. And one thing that I did was a relationship tracker. I wrote everyone's names down, like who I've connected with in the past. And so that just tracks my just networks, like people that I've met, and like business cards. I put them in an Excel sheet with all their information rather than having a clunk of business cards, throw them away. Like I have everything on Excel. I see if I ever need to talk to someone from Title, hey, I have a person I met a contact from Title, pick up the phone, call that person right away. So that's how I maintain my network. But how do I, that relationship, it's little things. Hey, are you available for coffee, lunch? I actually was gonna have a lunch with Norette from Crew. She was the president of the Crew Inland Empire chapter, and I said, hey, I'd love to have lunch with you. Like, let's talk. Like, she was so happy about it. It's little things like that. It's fun. It is fun, and it's good to have that strong relationship with someone. Like I want to have a good relationship with Norette. Like she's entitled. She knows a lot of people. I want to keep her in my network. Take the time to have lunch meetings with these people. What led you to choose commercial real estate over residential? Easy, the reward. There's big money to be out there in commercial real estate, and I am hungry. I want to be out there in brokering these deals. Commercial is a way to go, and there's not enough women in commercial real estate. It's the secret. It's like the secret, there's so much reward out there to be making, and it's in commercial. There's just so much more rewarding. Residential, I don't really know much about residential, honestly. I don't know anything about houses, but I do know more on the commercial side, and yeah, so it's far more interesting than to me. That's just my take. Well, I think if anyone else has questions, feel free. I love answering your questions, guys, but if not, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys for sticking on and listening to me. It's great.
Thank you so much for coming, Allegra. And and don't worry, if you're okay with it, would it be okay for us to send your LinkedIn out to our group and also your contact information, like your email?
Yes, please. LinkedIn, if you want my slides, if you want specific videos that podcasts, book recommendations, anything that you guys need from me. If you guys want to even have a coffee with me, I'm so down to do it. Get out there and reach out to me. I'd love to meet with you guys and help you out any way as possible.
Perfect.
I wish I had that.
I'll reach out to you for that podcast list and that book recommendation to send to everyone. But thank you so much for joining us today, Allegra. It's always great to talk to you, and great to see you, and super excited for whatever else you're going to accomplish in your career now.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So I'll be hopping off, just feel free. Like I said, my email is free. Feel free to email me or message me, any form of communication. But yeah, I hope best of luck to everyone. You guys are going to do great things. Love I want to support Cal Poly students. So if I can be as a resource, I'd love to. I'll hop off. Bye guys. Take care.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
If anyone has any questions for eBoard, we'll stay on for a few more minutes, but if not, I hope everyone has a great rest of your week and we'll see you next week. Oh yeah, and also a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Wilson.